true joints, you have space between the bones. So it's not connected, continuously, directly joined or connected. As you can see here, there is no space, right? It's continuously connected between the bone and the bone by the cartilage. But as you can see here, there is a little space between the bones, right? So this is the rib cage, and this is our spine. So as you can see here, we have a small space here, and it's not really joined together. Is it clear? If you compare with this one, this is the sacrum. Actually, it consists of 5 bones, but it fused together. You don't have any movement here, right? If you compare with this spine, who has separated by the cartilage, so you have a lot of movement. Why we need to train, why we need to exercise our joints? Let's take a look on page 15. The attributes to the true joints. 1, it's separated by a cavity or joint space. As you can see here, let's say from the picture here, let's take a look for the shoulder joint. As you can see, every bone is separate. It's not fused together like the sacrum. The knees joint, for example, you can see the space here in the between the joint, the bones. So the true joints always has space in the between 2 bones. So what is the function of the space? To create the movement. Otherwise, you will not have the movement between the bones. So usually in true joints, the second main characteristic is there will be a fluid that called synovial fluid in true joints. So the other attributes to the true joints, they have articular surface. So as you can see here, the shape of the lower bone, this is the tibia bone. So this is the femur bone. So this is the knee joint. So as you can see, the shape of the upper bone will articulate with the shape of the lower bone. So we always have this articular surface of the bone. Can you imagine the shape is not articulate here? Yeah, it will restrict the movement for the joints. So that's why it's always in our true joints, we always have this articular space between the 2 bones. And here, as you maybe if you, let's say you have your chicken, for example, for your dinner, for your lunch, you always see toward the end of the bone, we have the whitish color that we call, it is what we call cartilage. So here we always have the cartilage that actually you can, if you have your chicken thigh, for example, so toward the end of the bone of your chicken thigh, you will have that cartilage that actually you can chew into it, right? Because it's not as hard as this bone. So can you imagine the part will rubbing each other? It will create inflammation because you can actually tear up the cartilage with your hands, right? So imagine it is rubbing each other and it start to get inflammation, and then it will start to get arthritis for the joint, because if you don't have enough lubrication, that will happen. So the pouch filled with synovial fluid, so especially the joint who has a lot of movement. So let's say the shoulder joint, whenever we move, we will have the movement between, this is the arm and this is the scapula. So let's say when we bring our arms up above the head, so this bone, the humerus bone, will compress with the acromion. And the same if you go to the side, so the bone will also compress here. If you move your arms backward, extension, it will also compress here. If you bring to the side, it also create a compression. So the more you move, it will need a cushion in order to prevent the pain from the movement. Can you visualize here, if without the cushion, every time we move our arms above the head, it will always make the compression happen. So that's why in the shoulder joint, we have a lot of bursa. As you can see here, the pouch. It works as the cushion for the movement. So if you have a cushion here, when you raise your arms, so your bones is not directly hits against the bones. So here, this is the arm. So whenever you bring your arms up, in this bone, you will getting compressed, right? In this bone, it's not much compression happen because you have a very small bone here. But in this bone, you can see it's pretty big. So this is the bone. So when you leave your arms, can you see the bone hitting the bone here? So now if I move my arms, I will hit my bone much faster than the other one. So in the other one, you have pretty much this space to move your shoulder. What you will feel when you have this type of bone, when you leave your arms aligned parallel with your shoulder, you start to feel the pressure, the pinching sensation here. Let's say you keep hitting your bone because now you learn your yoga, keep your arm parallel when you do your down dog, keep your arm parallel if you do your anahatasana. You keep hitting your bone. And you start to feel the pain here. Maybe it's not injury, but it is arthritis that happened because you are hitting in your bursa too many times. So it's called bursitis, arthritis for your bursa. Maybe for some people, the t-shirt will fit in perfectly. For other people, maybe it's loose a little bit. Maybe for some other, it's too loose. For some other, maybe it's a little bit tight. For the other, maybe it's too tight. Or maybe even for some other, if they try to wear it, start to broken. You tear your t-shirt. The size doesn't suit your body. The same as our bone. Now you create a same rule for everybody. Let's say we have these two types of students in the class. Now you say, okay, now we come to our down dog, keep your arms parallel, bring your chest lower, stretch your shoulder. Do you think they will feel the same? The other one, maybe every time they keep their arm parallel, their shoulder will keep lifted. And now you are as a teacher, because you want the student feels the stretching. Now with your good intention, you give a little push for their shoulder blade. What do you think gonna happen? The shoulder is lifted. Now, as the teacher, you want your student to feel the stretching. Now you create a push here. Can you see? It can make your student injury because they will dislocate their shoulder joint. When they try to bring their knee toward the second toe, they will feel the pain here because there's not a right movement for their joints. If they want to bring the knee facing forward, they must turn the foot slightly outward. Otherwise, they will just compromise the ligament here. So that's why they will start to feel the pain here. The more they're practicing, the more they feel the pain. It means the pose that they do is not right. Otherwise, they will feel the more they practice, the more comfortable they will feel, right? Let's say she practiced for 10 years maybe. Do you think she will be able to do the same? Why? Because it is because of the bone, right? But have you ever taught in your class, okay, don't do it. Just be content with what you have now. Most of the students will say, keep practicing. And one day it will come. But now it's not only about keep practicing. It doesn't matter how much effort that you put into your practice. If your bone doesn't suit the movement, there will be no progress.